Hello and good morning. Welcome to day 23, and it looks like we are still going up about 5,000 cases every day. That's been a little while now, so it definitely doesn't look like we've hit our peak yet. Do check the website for details about useful things, how to keep healthy, other yoga videos and quizzes that you can do to record how you're doing if you would like to. And when you're practicing, please follow your breathing so that you're breathing in easily, you're breathing out easily throughout all of the poses. And there shouldn't ever be any sense of discomfort. Sometimes you have to work at things, and sometimes you might think, oh, this big area feels like it's working. But if you feel like a little tiny area is working, that's an indication it's not a great pose the way it's happening for you at that time. So please, if you find that you can say, oh, just here, I really am stretching just here, back off so that you get a big wide stretch over a large area of the body. It's a good way to try and keep safe when you're practicing. If you want to start by bringing yourself into all fours, so make sure that you've got a nice comfortable mat under your feet. You're going to start by just sliding your hips from one side to the other side. So this is a lazy sort of wakening up movement, where you're just letting your body move a little bit fluidly. You're noticing how your body feels right now. You're going to let your hips come to the centre, and then we're going to slide a weight forwards and back. If you're pregnant, make sure that your shoulders are not coming forwards of your wrists. So sliding the hips forwards and back, getting a nice feeling of length in the spine so we're not arching the spine up and back. If you're not pregnant and if it feels good, you can slide your hands away so you get a little dip down as you come back. Just depends on your energy levels today. Going with your breathing so your breathing stays nice and relaxed as you do this. And then you're going to bring yourself into all fours. So nice even all fours where the hands are more or less underneath the shoulder joints. You're going to tuck your toes under. You're going to make sure knees are just, so ideally the thighs are parallel from one another, and you're just going to let the knees come down beneath the hip joints. So from here we're going to come up into dog pose, so you're going to slide your hips forwards and back a couple of times. As the hips come back, press into your hands, lift up with the hips, up with the heels, get a nice light feeling up through the back of the body. So the back of the body, meaning the back of the legs, back of the hips, undersides of the feet. Really lengthen out, stretch up, and then let your knees come down and let your head rest down. Take a moment to breathe easily. And then choosing, do you want to stay here longer and just rest, or do you want to come up to do another one? So at any point you can just rest a little bit longer. We're going to come up and do an asymmetrical pose now. So we're an asymmetrical dog pose. So we're going to slide our hips forwards and back, same thing as before, just a nice smooth movement over the back. As the hips come back, press into the hands, lift up with the hips. Get nice and light through the hips, and then you're going to have the option of folding one knee in, so your heel comes towards your hip, and then you open your knee out and up towards the ceiling, but your heel stays close in towards your hip. Bring your knee back down to facing the floor again. Settle your foot onto the floor. And then we'll come to the opposite side. So foot is going to come in towards your hip. Knee extends out and up, and we press into the hands evenly. And then you're going to bring your knee back to facing the floor again. Foot comes onto the floor, knees come down evenly, and head rests down. Let the back of your body rest, let your body just become comfortable, and notice how your breathing is in this moment. We're going to come up and do one more of those on each side if you would like to. So hips are going to be sliding back and forth. As the hips come back towards the heels, press into the hands, lift up with the hips, fold one foot in. Imagine that you're drawing a nice smooth arc up towards or in the direction of the ceiling, and you're opening into the side of your waist as your knee is lifted. You're going to bring your knee back to face the floor. Foot finds the floor, and then other foot folds up. Same thing, nice and steady through both hands, and then start to press into the hands to lift up with the knee, and you're extending into the open side of your torso. So get a lovely feeling of lengthening out and taking up space. Bring your knee back to facing the floor. The foot finds the floor. Both knees come evenly onto the floor, and your head rests down. As your head rests down, you just let the back of the body soften, and you let your breathing relax. Just take a little bit more time here so that you're resting your body. And then at some point you'll find that your breathing has just come back to normal and that you feel just like, oh, right, ready to move again. And when that happens, if you bring yourself into all fours. So from here, we're going to come up to a standing forward bound. So you're going to walk your hands back and up your legs. You're going to soften through the knees. Arms are going to rest onto your thighs. Head is going to release down. Hips are going to lift up towards the ceiling. You can work with that feeling of beginning to slightly straighten your legs and the feeling of the upper back becoming a little bit heavier. And then bend through your knees, lift up through your pelvic floor, all the way up and to standing. And from standing, if you bring yourself to somewhere where you've got a little bit of support so that you can take your hand, I've got my hand on the window, so I do actually have my hand on something here. But something, so you've got something so that when you're standing you just feel a little bit more stable. You're going to lift one foot up towards the back and you're going to either just let it float and take your hand back and extend the hand back in the direction of the heel, or you're going to catch hold of a bit of trouser leg if that feels good, or you can take a little bit of ankle and you can draw your ankle in towards your hip. You're just going to get a feeling of a nice stretch out through the front of the thigh, nice and evenly. And then you're going to release that leg down. And we're going to come to the opposite side. So back leg is going to step up and you might catch hold or not. Heel draws in towards your hip, front of the thigh stretches, chest gently lifts. And then you're going to bring your foot down to the floor again. We're going to come to the first side and we're going to have the option of taking your hand away from the support if you would like. So again, you're going to let your foot step up to the back. You're going to catch hold if that feels good for you. Your hand that's on the support can start to slide a little bit higher on the support, or it can float away from the support. And then you're going to extend back with your knees so you get the feeling that your knee is extending straight down. And then we've got a feeling of a little lift up through the front of the tummy and underneath the rib cage. The shoulders are relaxed down towards the back. And the chest is wide and open. You're going to bring your hand back onto the support, or you're just going to let your foot come down. And then we're going to come over to the opposite side. So opposite hand is going to settle onto the wall. Your leg is going to step up towards the back. We're going to get that feeling of a little lift up through the tummy and underneath the rib cage, down through the shoulders at the back. Hand at the front can float up if you would like. Get a feeling of nice and steady and strong with the legs. Easy with the breathing. And then bringing your hand onto the support if you'd like, or just settling your foot down and onto the floor so we come back to both feet even. From here we're going to come onto the floor and we're going to come into kneeling. So if you want to take a block if you would like one, and you're going to either settle the block underneath your hips if that feels good. You can have your knees high, your hips high away from your knees if you would prefer. It's just about making sure that your knees are comfortable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my feet flat back and I'm going to sit my hips back onto my heels. Now it's really important if you've got varicose veins or anything like that you need to be coming in and out of this, so it'd be better to be higher up than to be compressing the legs. You're going to let one hand come around the back of your body, and if you want to, you can let your hand or your fingers just catch hold or touch into the other arm. Try to think that you're not gripping hold of your arm and pulling and yanking. Try to think of it as just a gentle, comfortable movement, and then you're going to see if your body would like to open out into the open space. Nice, smooth, easy movement with your breathing. Bringing yourself back to the centre, and then we're going to come to the other side. So hand is just rested on the same side leg, other hand can just catch hold or come round if you like, and then just gently, easily smoothing round. So there's a little lift in the tummy, a little lift in the rib cage or underneath the rib cage. Shoulders soften round, head maybe. Bringing yourself back to the centre. Let your hands come onto your legs. And you're going to choose, at this point you might feel that you've been here long enough, so you might want to change the position of your legs, or you can just sit with your legs in this position if you would like. So we're going to do the little ladder breathing, so the little breaths in today. So remember to do it at your own speed so that it feels good for your body. So it's so important that number one is your body, your feelings, your breath, so your life force. And then from there we can start to think about extending it maybe a little, but stay with you and where you are in this moment. So a little breath in. So you see we're taking little breaths in to fill the lungs, and then an easy breath out. And last time. And then let your breathing just relax. So my challenge for you today, if you're wanting a little challenge to spur your day on, is to think of 3 things that your mother or your mother figure did that really made your life wonderful. The 3 things that really worked for you. It could be tiny little things like making scones on a Saturday morning. My memory of my mum, what I really loved, that she made these tiny little there's lots of things, but the thing that comes to mind right now, so she's not offended when she sees this, there's these tiny little pair of pink and white gingham tights for my little doll, and she would spend ages sewing things, tiny little things for my little friends. And I just loved that she was just so engrossed in what she was doing and so careful. And I loved these pink gingham stretchy tights for my tiny doll. Oh dear. Right, okay, and now my quote for your day is from Sandra Bernhard. Energy creates energy. It is by spending oneself that one becomes rich. Energy creates energy. It is by spending oneself that one becomes rich. I hope you enjoy thinking of the wonderful things that your mother or mother figure has done for you in your life, little and bigger things. Thank you.